You think drinking milk is always good for your bones and muscles, right? That's what most of us believe. Even from childhood, a glass of milk every morning is seen as a symbol of strength, strong bones, and superior height. But then one day, after age 60, we start to notice something different. When you get out of bed, your legs suddenly feel a little shaky. Your knees aren't as flexible as they used to be. Getting up from the sofa becomes heavy, as if something is holding you back. And so we blame age, time, and getting old as an irresistible fate. But have you ever wondered, is there something in your daily routine that's quietly pulling your legs backward? The truth is, not all types of milk are the heroes for bones and muscles that we once thought. Some types, even though they're advertised as rich in calcium or good for older adults, actually contain too much sugar, saturated fat, or are severely lacking in the protein and essential vitamins needed to nourish legs that are weakening after age 60. And due to a lack of accurate information, many people are still drinking types of milk they believe are good, but which are actually slowing down their mobility day by day. But don't worry, because from milk itself, if you know how to choose correctly, you can restore strength, soothe inflammation, and add nutrition to make your legs stable again. You don't have to give up milk, you just need to choose the right kind. And that journey will start right in today's video. In this video, you'll learn about 5 types of milk to limit, and more importantly, 4 smart alternatives that have scientific evidence and usage guidelines suitable for older adults in the US. Your legs will thank you after just a few weeks of making these changes. And to begin, let's look at the first type on the list that needs re-evaluation, one that's in many people's refrigerators. Number 1. Sugary milk, flavored milk. This is one of the most common types of milk for breakfast in America, especially ready-to-drink chocolate or strawberry milk sold in bottles or cartons at the supermarket. They're often seen as a sweet, easy-to-drink, nutritious beverage for both children and older adults. But hidden behind that gentle sweetness is an amount of added sugar that's far from gentle on weakening legs. A 240 ml serving of flavored milk, just 1 glass, typically contains 18 to 24 grams of added sugar, equivalent to about 4 to 6 teaspoons. That might not sound like a lot, but for older adults, especially after age 60, the body no longer processes sugar as efficiently as before. Every time blood glucose levels spike, insulin is released to clean up, while also activating inflammatory molecules like IL-6 and TNF-alpha. These substances, when repeated over a long period, disrupt the mTOR pathway, the pathway that controls muscle regeneration and maintenance. In other words, the more of these sugary milks you drink, the more your body's ability to build muscle is blocked. Not only that, simple sugars also promote blood vessel inflammation, reducing blood flow to leg muscles. Prolonged lack of blood supply gradually weakens muscle bundles, slows down reaction time when you need to stand up or maintain balance. A large cohort analysis of 71,198 women aged 60 and older showed that those who drank 1 serving of sugary beverages per day had a 32% increased risk of frailty syndrome compared to the group who drank less. This result was published in the reputable PMC database, clearly confirming the link between added sugar and age-related decline in physical function. You might not feel it after 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month, but over time, small symptoms like easily tired legs, less steady walking, or slower transitions from sitting to standing can be clear signs of a silent problem. Milk is feeding sugar, not muscle. If you have a habit of drinking chocolate or strawberry milk every morning, now is a good time to ask, is that milk making your legs stronger, or is it taking away little by little the strength you need to maintain balance every day? And then, when you look at the list in your refrigerator, you might realize it's not just sweet milk, but another sweet enemy sitting quietly next to it. Number 2, sweetened condensed milk and coffee creamers. If your morning starts with a cup of coffee with condensed milk or a cup of ready-made creamy vanilla or caramel creamer, then these are the types of milk that need to be re-evaluated today. Sweetened condensed milk, with its characteristic intense sweetness, and coffee creamers, often containing lots of saturated fat and flavorings, are two very common forms of milk that contribute almost no essential nutrition for muscles or bones, especially in older adults. On the contrary, they bring what legs after 60 need to avoid most: empty calories and silent inflammatory reactions. 1 tablespoon of condensed milk, 20 Gs, contains up to 10 to 12 Gs of added sugar, but no significant protein. When you add 2 to 3 tablespoons to your coffee every morning, you're introducing 30-36 Gs of sugar into your body, equivalent to the entire recommended daily limit for an adult, according to the American Heart Association (AHA) standards. The simple sugars in condensed milk and trans fats in some coffee creamers stimulate the formation of AGEs, advanced glycation end products. Advanced glycation end products that directly damage cartilage, tendons, and even collagen in the knee joints. These are the connective tissues that help keep your knees flexible, ankles stable, and steps steady. When they are glycated, cartilage becomes brittle, dry, and more vulnerable to damage with every step. Some medical recommendations regarding osteoporosis and bone health, including the Foods to Avoid in Osteoporosis guide published on Verywell Health, have classified foods high in sugar and saturated fat as those to limit because they reduce bone mineral density, BMD, and increase the risk of hip fractures, especially in people aged 60 and older. It's also important to emphasize, liquid or powdered coffee creamers are very common in US supermarkets today, but most of them contain industrial fats, partially hydrogenated oils, a potential source of trans fat, even if not clearly stated on the label. Even just 1 to 2 tablespoons a day, accumulated over several years, is enough to cause hardening of blood vessels, impeding blood flow to leg muscles, and weakening recovery after exercise. Try to imagine your legs have to bear thousands of steps every day, but they aren't getting enough protein to repair themselves, while the blood vessels supplying your muscles are gradually becoming blocked due to a sweet habit every morning. If you're starting your morning with this type of milk, ask yourself, is it helping you maintain steady steps, or is it making your knees feel looser every time you stand up? And if you find yourself nodding, it's very likely that the next type of milk is also silently accompanying your daily cereal or iced coffee. Number 3, whole milk, 3.25% fat. This is considered the most original type of milk. Whole milk often provides an authentic, rich taste, and many people believe it's more nutritious. Especially for older adults, many choose whole milk believing that the fat will help better absorb calcium, vitamin D, and other micronutrients. But for legs that need to recover after age 60, that creamy layer of fat, if consumed in excess, becomes an invisible barrier to blood flow, nourishing your muscles. 1 glass of whole milk, 240 ml, contains about 5 g of saturated fat, SFA, which already accounts for 25 to 30% of the maximum daily SFA intake recommended by the American Heart Association, AHA. When this amount of saturated fat accumulates regularly, it increases bad LDL cholesterol, promoting atherosclerosis. The consequence is that the small capillaries supplying leg muscles, especially in the calves and knees, become narrower, reducing their ability to transport oxygen and nutrients. Muscles that aren't properly fed will be weak, tired, and recover slowly after exercise. Not only that, excessive SFA intake also affects insulin signaling in muscles, making muscle cells less sensitive to insulin, thereby reducing their ability to absorb glucose for muscle energy. For older adults who already have a high risk of insulin resistance, this is a silent, vicious cycle that makes each step feel heavier over time. A review analysis of dairy products, published in Science Direct in 2024, showed that when whole milk consumption exceeded a moderate level, 200 g a day, the cardiovascular benefits were no longer significant and the risk of vascular disorders increased considerably, especially in the older adult group with pre-existing cardiovascular risk factors. It's worth noting, whole milk is often not perceived as harmful because it still contains protein, calcium, and vitamin D. But saturated fat is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it helps with better absorption, but on the other, it can gradually obstruct the flow of nutrients to the delicate muscle bundles in the legs. If you've ever felt your legs tire easily after standing for a long time, or felt like your steps lacked spring even without pain, then this could very well be a sign that blood flow to your muscles is obstructed, and part of the reason might stem from that seemingly harmless glass of whole milk every day. And even when abandoning animal milk, many people opt for a different direction, seemingly safe, which is plant-based milks. But are they truly a solution? Number 4. Low protein and unfortified plant-based milks. Original almond, rice, coconut milk. Many people over 60, aiming to reduce cholesterol or due to lactose intolerance, have switched to plant-based milks like original almond, rice, or coconut milk. The feeling of being light on the stomach, low in fat, and completely lactose-free makes these products quickly become a seemingly safe choice. But hidden behind that plant-based label is a major weakness that aging legs need to be aware of. Too little protein, a lack of leucine, and almost no calcium, vitamin D unless fortified. Look at the numbers. 1 glass of original almond milk, unfortified, provides only about 1 g of protein, 1/8 compared to regular cow's milk. Rice milk and coconut milk are similar, primarily containing water, starch, or medium-chain triglycerides, but lacking essential amino acids to maintain muscle mass. For people over 60, the body needs at least 2 to 3 g of leucine in each main meal to activate mTOR, the pathway that controls muscle regeneration. But these original plant-based milks contain almost no significant leucine, causing muscle protein synthesis to be starved, even if you drink milk daily. USDA Food Data Central 2023 notes, original almond milk contains only 1 g protein, 240 mol, contributing almost nothing to the muscle recovery needs of older adults. Not to mention, most unfortified varieties also do not provide enough calcium, under 50 ml glass, and vitamin D, 2 key factors for strengthening bones and supporting weight-bearing joints like knees and ankles. The consequence is, despite feeling lighter in the stomach, your legs are quietly weakening because they're not getting the raw materials for tissue regeneration. Muscle tissues gradually atrophy, recovery speed after walking slows down, and feelings of imbalance appear more frequently, especially when standing up quickly or climbing stairs. Not stopping there, some plant-based milks also contain gums, thickeners, or industrial vegetable oils, which if consumed too frequently can disrupt the gut microbiome, affecting overall nutrient absorption, especially in individuals with poor digestion after age 60. If you've switched to almond or coconut milk hoping for a lighter feel for your body, that's still valuable, as long as you choose a variety that has been fortified with the necessary protein and micronutrients. Because if not, it's no different than drinking a refreshing, flavored glass of water without providing any building materials for your body to rebuild weakening legs. And finally, at the end of the list, there's still a name that many believe to be the most natural, purest: raw milk. But for older adults, this is one of the biggest risks that legs can hardly endure if complications arise. In an effort to return to original nature, some older adults in the US have chosen raw milk, meaning unpasteurized, unheated milk, believing it to be a truer, enzyme-rich source of nutrition that can support digestion or immunity. But for people after age 60, this type of milk is the most worrying health risk, not because of lack of nutrients, but because of the risk of serious bacterial infection, which can destroy muscle in just a few days. Raw milk, if not properly pasteurized, can contain bacteria such as Listeria monocytogenes, Campylobacter, Salmonella, and E. coli O157H7. These bacteria usually don't cause illness in healthy individuals, but in older adults, just one infection is enough to cause a catabolic crisis, meaning the body has to break down its own muscle tissue to fight the infection. In studies on the consequences of acute inflammation in older adults, geriatric specialists note each acute infection can cause patients to lose 5 to 10% of their muscle mass in just 1 to 2 weeks, and muscle loss after age 60 does not always fully recover, especially when the patient is bedridden or has reduced food intake. The CDC, US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, has classified individuals 65 years old as the highest risk group and strongly recommends against consuming raw milk. In its 2022 Raw Milk Advisory, the CDC emphasized, even a single drink can be enough to cause life-threatening listeriosis in older adults. In addition, UCLA Health also warns that, with a weakened immune system due to age, older adults need to avoid all unpasteurized dairy products, including unpasteurized fresh cheese, because the risk of complications is not limited to the digestive tract but can also spread to the nervous system and musculoskeletal system. An episode of acute diarrhea, a high fever due to dairy bacteria, can be the trigger for an irreversible cascade of muscle decline, especially for those who already have muscle weakness, slow mobility, or are in a recovery phase. Despite being labeled pure and natural, raw milk is the biggest hidden danger for weak legs after age 60, because a fall after a fever, a week of inactivity, can cause legs to lose the stability that takes years to regain. And now, having clearly seen the 5 types of milk that can quietly undermine your leg strength, the question arises, so which type should you drink? Are there still healthy milk options to nourish muscles and bones that are also easy to use every day? The answer is yes, and not just one. There are 4 scientific, safe, and suitable choices for people over 60. We'll start right away with the first type, the lean yet powerful one, skim milk fortified with vitamin D. Imagine a stream of milk that's no longer rich and fatty, but still smooth, full-bodied, and quietly delivering the ingredients to rebuild your weakening muscle fibers. It's unassuming, doesn't raise cholesterol concerns, but it's a solid mortar for your leg framework after age 60. That's skim milk or 1% milk, especially varieties that have been fortified with vitamin D. Unlike whole milk, this type of milk has had most of its saturated fat removed, leaving less than 1.5 g of fat per glass, but it still retains all 8 g of high-quality protein, 300 milliliters of calcium, and 100 IU of vitamin D in every 240 milliliter serving. You might have heard vitamin D referred to as an osteoporosis drug. But in reality, it also helps your body instruct your muscles to contract and relax at the right time, so you don't lose balance when getting up or stumble when turning your head or changing direction. A 2-year study in the US, following men over 50, showed that those who regularly drank skim milk fortified with vitamin D had a significantly reduced rate of bone loss in the hip, a critical area of the leg, compared to those who didn't. This isn't just a number, it's the difference between walking steadily or tottering, between standing up decisively or having to lean on a chair every time you leave the dining table. You can use skim milk in the morning as part of a meal with oatmeal or whole grain cereal, or drink a glass after a walk or light exercise, because that's when your body most craves ingredients for muscle recovery. However, if you're managing salt intake due to high blood pressure, pay attention to the milk label. Some types might contain a bit too much sodium, so you should choose one that states under 120 mg sodium per 240 ml for greater peace of mind. It's not loud, it doesn't draw attention, but this glass of milk is a quiet companion, helping you maintain steady legs every morning you wake up. And if you're asking yourself, is there a milk that's even better? The answer is yes. There's another type of milk that not only retains a higher amount of protein, but also helps to activate a stronger muscle building ability, especially after a workout. That's option number 2, high protein ultra filtered milk, and you'll learn about it right now. Have you ever drunk a glass of milk and afterward felt still a little lacking, not full enough, not strong enough, missing something potent enough to help your body recover after a morning walk or after trying a few leg exercises? Well, it might be because the amount of protein in that glass of milk wasn't enough to help your body repair and rebuild the muscle used throughout the day. And if you're 60 or older, your protein needs to maintain muscle strength are actually higher than when you were younger. This is when high-protein, ultra-filtered milk becomes a very worthwhile option. This type of milk, which you might have seen with brands like Fairlife, Core Power, or high-protein lines at Whole Foods or Walmart, is processed using special filtration technology. Nothing is added, It simply removes water and lactose, then concentrates the best part of the milk, the protein. As a result, each 240 ml glass of milk can contain up to 13 grams of protein, significantly higher than the 8 grams in regular milk. This is especially meaningful for older adults because, according to geriatric nutrition experts, to help the body reactivate its muscle building capacity, we need at least 2 to 3 g of leucine per meal, a special amino acid found in high-quality protein. And the good news is, ultra-filtered milk reaches that threshold with just one glass. In other words, it doesn't just nourish, but also turns on the switch for muscle recovery after every activity. A study called the Dairy Protein Age Study, conducted on individuals 60 years old, showed that those who drank high-protein, ultra-filtered milk after weight loss retained most of their muscle mass, whereas the group using regular milk experienced greater muscle loss. This is clear evidence that the quantity and quality of protein in milk directly influence maintaining steady legs after age 60. You can drink this type of milk 30 to 60 minutes after exercise, especially leg exercises like brisk walking, light cycling, or repeated standing up and sitting down. If you want to change the taste, you can mix it with a little unsweetened pure cocoa powder for a light chocolate flavor that's both delicious and won't affect blood sugar. Another plus is, most ultra-filtered milk varieties now are also fully fortified with calcium and vitamin D, so you don't have to worry about bone deficiency while trying to maintain muscle. However, if you have chronic kidney disease or are advised to limit your daily protein intake, you need to talk to your doctor or a nutritionist before regularly consuming this type of milk, as the high protein content may not be suitable for everyone. But if you are still active, exercise regularly, or are trying to keep your legs from weakening, then this is the milk for your new phase, a phase where strength doesn't come from grand efforts, but from simple things chosen correctly. And if you're looking for a plant-based option that's non-allergenic and still provides enough protein, then the next section will surprise you. We'll move on to a type of milk derived from peas, gentle, benign, yet incredibly effective for muscles. Option number 3, pea protein milk, unsweetened. If you once thought plant-based milk was just thin, white-colored water, then you might not know about pea protein milk, an allergy-friendly, lactose-free option that has a protein content almost on par with cow's milk. And the most surprising thing, even though it doesn't come from animals, this milk still has the ability to preserve muscle mass and support leg strength after age 60, similar to traditional high-protein milks. You might be imagining the small green peas usually used in soup, but the peas used to make this milk are yellow split peas, carefully selected and processed using modern techniques to extract concentrated protein, which is then mixed with water to form the milk. The result? A 240 ml glass can contain up to 8 grams of complete protein, which is high enough to support muscle recovery without causing bloating, fear of cow's milk allergies, or raising blood sugar. Furthermore, this protein is also rich in lysine and leucine, two important amino acids that older adults need to maintain muscle strength and the ability to stand steadily as they age. A study published in a geriatric nutrition journal, research conducted on aging mouse models, often used to simulate muscle loss in older adults, showed that pea protein was as effective at maintaining muscle mass as casein, a valuable protein commonly found in cow's milk. If you're vegetarian or have a digestive system sensitive to animal protein, this milk is an excellent choice for muscle building every day without discomfort. Additionally, most brands of pea protein milk currently available in the US, like Ripple, Not Milk, or Bolthouse, have also added calcium and vitamin D, helping to protect bones and leg joints from thinning or aching over time. Some varieties even have up to 450 mg of calcium per glass, much higher than many traditional milks. You can drink this milk cold after walking or after a light meal, or blend it with half a banana to enhance its natural sweetness and add potassium, a nutrient also very good for muscles and preventing leg cramps in older adults. However, As with all fortified milks, you should carefully check the nutrition label if you are taking kidney medication or phosphate binders, as the calcium content in some varieties can be quite high. And most importantly, this is a milk that's not flashy or eye-catching, but it's very effective. It's like a gentle friend. No need for many words, just consistent daily companionship, helping to keep the muscles around your knees and ankles from atrophying. And if you're asking yourself, is there a milk that's just as powerful yet familiar, easy to drink, and can be used for life? Then the next option will satisfy you. We'll move on to the last type of milk on the list, also the most powerful, especially for those who truly want to protect their legs with every spoonful of high-quality protein daily. Option number 4, unsweetened soy milk, fortified with calcium and vitamin D. If there's one plant-based milk that has been most misunderstood, but is actually just as powerful as any milk for weakening legs as we age, it's soy milk. For many years, some people feared that soy affected hormones, others thought it was thinner than cow's milk. But today, nutritional analyses are clear. Soy milk is the only plant-based milk with a protein content nearly equivalent to cow's milk, with protein quality high enough to effectively help the body retain muscle strength after age 60. Just one 240 milliliter glass of original unsweetened soy milk provides 7 to 9 g of protein, and that's not just a number. It's the essential ingredient for muscles to repair themselves after every step, leg lift, or simply standing up from a chair. Not only that, soy also contains a special group of compounds called isoflavones, which act like natural anti-inflammatory agents, helping to soothe inflamed muscle tissues and joints. This is extremely beneficial for people with knee osteoarthritis or those who feel their knees are slightly swollen after standing for a long time. A data analysis from NHANES, a national nutrition study in the US with tens of thousands of participants, showed that women over 50 who drank at least 1 glass of soy milk per week had higher bone density in the thigh region and a reduced risk of osteoporosis by up to 37% compared to those who didn't drink it. And this can certainly apply to both men and women after age 60. However, the important thing is to choose the right kind. On the shelves of soy milk in the US today, you'll find many versions: sweetened, unsweetened, vanilla, chocolate, organic, light versions. But what you should look for is the unsweetened variety that is fortified with calcium and vitamin D, usually clearly stated on the label as plus calcium 300 milliliters plus vitamin D 100 IU or equivalent. Regarding usage, you can replace cow's milk in your morning cereal. Soy milk's flavor is quite neutral, so it's very easy to combine with oatmeal or granola. Or warm up a glass in the evening, then mix it with a spoonful of collagen powder to both relax before bed and supplement with nutrients for overnight muscle recovery. One thing to note, if you are taking thyroid medication, levothyroxine, allow at least 4 hours after taking your medication before consuming soy milk, as soy may affect the absorption of this medication. Additionally, if you've never used soy milk and are concerned about the taste, start with an unflavored variety or try a little at a time to get used to it. Because once you like it, you'll see that this is a plant-based milk that's small but mighty, gently supporting your muscles and bones every day, like a soft cushion under your steps, helping you walk more steadily without much worry. And so, we've explored all 4 recommended types of milk, from skim milk to ultra-filtered milk, pea protein milk to fortified soy milk. Now it's time to look back at today's entire journey. Which types of milk are quietly weakening your legs, and which choices are helping you walk more steadily every day? Perhaps you once thought that simply drinking milk was enough to keep your bones strong and legs healthy. But after today's journey, I hope you've clearly seen one thing: not all milk is created equal, and not all types are on your legs' side. We've reviewed the 5 types of milk to avoid or limit. Familiar names that quietly weaken muscles and impede blood flow to your legs every day. Strawberry and chocolate milk. Seemingly delicious but too much sugar. Condensed milk. Coffee creamer. Sweet but nutritionally poor. Whole milk. rich but high in artery-clogging fats, original almond milk, coconut milk, light on the stomach but lacking protein and calcium, raw milk, natural but carries a dangerous risk of bacterial infection. And instead you now have 4 new friends in your refrigerator, types of milk that truly stand for the strength of your legs: skim milk, gentle yet nutritious; ultra-filtered milk, high in protein, aiding muscle recovery after activity; pea protein milk, low allergy risk, still effective for muscle maintenance; fortified soy milk, supports bones, reduces inflammation. You don't need to stop drinking milk, you just need to choose the right kind. Because sometimes what makes a difference in your stride isn't a grand effort, but a small change, starting with a glass of milk every day. Proper nutrition is like an invisible walking stick. You don't see it, but every day it's quietly supporting your legs, keeping your steps from faltering in the flow of time. So today, what kind of milk are you using? And after this video, will you try switching to a new type of milk, better for your legs and for the life ahead? If you found today's content helpful, don't forget to share this video with your loved ones, because they might also need steadier steps just from a small change in their morning glass of milk. Thank you for your time, wishing you a peaceful day, strong legs, and see you in the next video.